Hello and welcome to another Survivor Side Story podcast episode. This is episode 35, season 1. Guys, I want to talk about slugging. I want to talk about perks and things from Reddit, posts I read from the Dead by Daylight Rage Reddit post. I just want to say this. First off, I had a very good yoga session today. Hot yoga is my first time doing it, and I would love to go back. But man, it was like 105 degrees today, so it was just really crazy doing it in that room. It was insane. But it was very, very mind-blowing, just trying to get my mental health in order. That's all we can do out here today in a stressful world. All you can do is just do your best. That's all I can say, right? And it's crazy because I just think that the thing that I'm always thinking about when I'm at work is Dead by Daylight. I think about the community a lot. It's crazy how this game can be very stressful when you play it. But then when you go out into the world, you think about how stressful life can be. And I think that even though this game is very stressful, it's still an escape for many of us. So I just find it interesting that when we have our moments where we want to uninstall DBD and we want to play another game, maybe give it a cool off, we end up coming right on back. And I don't mind if you guys, I don't blame you guys for leaving, because I just think that the devs, to me and to people who actually understand this game, know that this game is meant for killers to have their way. They have free agency to play how they want. That's why they can slug, that's why they can tunnel, that's why they can camp, but it's not bannable. They won't stop. And I mean, again, I'm okay with it, because at the end of the day, I know that killer has to be the power role. That's just what it is. So if you don't understand that, you don't understand DBD. You don't understand the possibilities and probabilities. Like, killers are gonna win most of their games, and if they don't win the game, they're gonna at least mostly tie or win. That's just how it is, right? But anyway, let's talk about some slugging. But before I get into that, please like, share, and subscribe, or follow if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you would kindly put on YouTube Music, you can just listen to this with audio. And if you are a YouTube Premium member such as myself, you can listen to this with the lock screen while you're at work, grinding away and getting through the work day. Today's it's the 27th for you guys by the time it gets out to you, unless you remember and you get it now. But yeah. So I want to talk about slugging. I want to talk about, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I think the issue with slugging is that I'm okay with the strategy. I think somebody asked me on my stream respectfully, as we had like a debate going, and then I said, hey, I'm okay with people slugging if they need to try to get the game back in their favor. Let's say if I'm killer and, okay, gens are flying by, brand new parts, prove die, whatever, I'm going against a Swift. Okay, 3 gens go by. I don't have that many hooks. Okay, I can understand, especially if I have a killer that can benefit off of slugging, such as like an Oni or, a Billy, a killer that can pretty much snowball really fast just based off like these instant down attacks. I can understand why I would do it, because it helps me try to get the game back in my favor, swing the momentum back to my way, right? And then that's when you start to hook, and then you hoping that maybe you get some altruism going on, etc. But then you get, killers who just wanted to do it with knockout. I had a Howlmaster. Right at the start of the game, she was trying to put people in the basement. Now, granted, you will have survivors that want to make it easier for the killer, right? By just, lumping all together, trying to take hits immediately in the beginning of the match. No one's death hook, but we're taking hits. Trying to get that flashbang or flash light save because they've seen it on TikTok, And, the Howlmaster basically was just putting everybody in the basement. She took all day catching me because she cannot check me. She cannot guard me. Merch is in the description, etc. But right after she eventually caught me, right, she started to, I think 2 people were already dead by this time. But once she already caught, she eventually caught me. It took her like 3 minutes. She started to, of course, dry hump me on the ground. That little move and that 2-step, soft shoe step movement and stuff, etc. And it's all to prove a point. A lot of time it's humiliation, degradation, etc. And I can understand why somebody feels some type of way. But there's nothing that can change. There's nothing that, unless the dev said, hey, we're going to change that, there's nothing that can actually change. So I just want to be very clear on that. So in fact, actually, I want to kind of go over some post Reddits, if you guys are okay with that. This is from Severn Van Sickle, if I say his name right. This is from a poster from Dead by Daylight Rage. And he says, slugging perks are 100% ruining survivor mode. And he says, don't have to say much. Why does behavior allow these perks to still exist in a state that they are? I cannot even begin to count the amount of killers I face using knockout and third seal combined with undying and thrill. I assume thrill of the hunt or something like that. This combination does absolutely nothing but promote killers to play the most miserable playstyle. Completely makes it so that killers don't have to play the normal objective. I'd rather face Old Eruption or a Pain Res Nurse every single match than to play this build. Having an entire match consists of getting slugged and bleeding out for 4 minutes is definitely a way of warding warding players off from playing this game. How has behavior not seen this as an issue? See, here's the thing. I want to say almost 3 years ago now, they tried to have something that, I think it was something like base kit, unbreakable. And here's the thing. You're going to have killers that's going to disagree with this, right? It's always like, I can see if it was like a small percentage of, and maybe it is, but almost every other single game I play, I'm telling you, like I don't like that, like, people act as if like things just aren't happening. No, they may not be happening at the rate or a high rate. Like, you may not face every killer, or maybe not even many killers that are trying to slug and all that stuff like that. But in this game, killers would do it at 4 or 5 gens. See, again, remember I was just talking about like strategy, where killers are like, okay, I'm trying to get the momentum swing back in my direction. Let me try to just do something to like maybe slug. Because the point of slugging when gens are flying by usually is to try to like slow down the game for you. When the game's going by too fast, this is what killers say, oh man, you guys are gen rushing, interact with the killer, stuff like that, which doesn't make sense to me, because we have stealth mode, we immerse survivors, immerse perks, then we have lockers, so us, right? So that I understand, but then the thing is, you have killers that does it to prove a point. You have killers that do it to prove a point. They want to bleed people out and will not hook them. And that is making it where, especially, again, y'all never talk about solo queue players. Y'all don't talk about people who don't, have a schedule with friends to play with each other in lobbies. Say, hey man, we finna be on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. and let me know when you're off work. Like, not everybody care to do that. So not everybody plays in solo queue, and solo queue players such as myself, we already get screwed over most of the time by our teammates. So then for a killer to pour it on even more, I think it can really mess with your mental. Now, again, see, my thing is this. People do what they're allowed to do. I work with people like this. If people are allowed to come in late, not work, do weird stuff where, where there's no cameras reach and whatever, and the manager and the supervisor know about it, or they are aware about it, but nothing changes, and guess what? They're going to continue to do it. F what I'm saying, right? Not that I care, but if there's people who are in a position to discipline them enough to do it, then nothing's going to change. They're going to continue to do it. Why would they listen to somebody who's not higher or that's on the same level as them? That's why it's always weird when you're at work and this person's slowing you down at your job, but then you're trying to be like, hey, can you help me out? Can you do this? But then they might feel some type of way. Well, you're not a supervisor, you're not a manager. But it's like, but you're slowing me down. It's the same thing in DBD. You got survivors who hate when you message them and be like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? But then I play how I want to play. I bought the game and all this stuff like that. But then if I go next on hook, I'm just playing how I want to play, right? Like, I just want to go next. Like, if you're not gonna do gens, let me die and go next. Why rescue me off the hook knowing I'm almost about to let that last skill check like go so I can just die? And here you go. I had somebody literally do something that was bannable. See, me giving up on hook is not bannable. But if I'm trying to like die and go next, which I have the option and the right to do so, if I'm on hook at least, and then you start like tugging on, like, you just want to tug to pause the meter and stuff like that. That's bannable. Like, it's so crazy how the people who cry and bitch and moan about bannable are the main ones who do things that are very bannable. But the point is that this is what I mean. Like, when people are allowed to have agency to do these type of things, and that's what I think what makes DBD so interesting, right? Is that I think that with Dead by Daylight, it's a game where like people know what they're getting once you have a certain amount of hours. I think this game is really fun and spooky for the newer player base. It is not for people like me. I mean, sure, if you go against a scratch man, I just saw a game on the DBD channel, on YouTube, the comp scene, where Zeno, one of the best comp players in the world for Team Elysium, I believe, they're in Midwich going against Scratch Mirror Myers. And that was just funny because it's like, you gotta think he was, he in the entire time, because you gotta think no one brought that map. They played a sacrificial ward. I don't know why it's brown, but it used to be green. But they brought it just happened to go there, and he was a Scratch Mirror, and he was just jump scaring them the entire time. And you gotta think they take their games very seriously. They always practicing. They always in tourneys. So for him to play and laugh and have a good time, it was pretty refreshing, right? But again, they always take. But my point is that like that's like it's rare that I go against Scratch Mirror, because people are focused on sweating in this game. They're focusing on, maybe it's just an MMR I'm at, where every now and then they'll like, but I mean, even at my MMR, you see meta. Like, again, meta's on both sides. You can go to the nightlight.gg website and see what is meta, but people are choosing the killers because they want to win. Because guess what? You also have killers, to their experience credit, when they want to just have fun and play, have a good time. You got survivors that would teabag them, that would talk trash in the in-game chat banter, and all of these things. So for me, it's just like, okay, I understand how that could be frustrating and killing now, because it's the same thing with me. There's something I try to do my locker builds where I want to jump in, head on plays and stuff like that, and then I get a killer that wants to, and maybe it's just my ego. Maybe a lot of time it's just our ego. A lot of time it really is our ego, where we think like, okay, we can't just have a bad game. We can't just have it. We all have to always sweat. And the thing is, I think when it comes to people being toxic and things, I think that a lot of people are almost like naturally drawn to like, because DBD is anything but boring. Dead by Daylight is anything but boring. It is anything but boring. That's the one thing y'all cannot say. I think his name is Choi. I was watching him about talking about why like certain survival horror games like TCM is not doing so well. Friday the 13th. All these other games that just seem to have died, or they're not doing so well in views or player base, playtime, is because like the one thing DBD has is the free agency to literally playing how you want. Where like and also not only that, but just like the killer role is the strongest. I mean, see, this is what I'm saying, and this is why DBD works, y'all, because y'all gotta understand. Like, y'all say Survivor is like OP, and y'all only talk about the small percentage of players. And when I say small percentage of players, I don't mean like it's just 1% of players. I'm willing to bet that there are more players who don't know what they're doing, or they're not that good as the players that y'all love to watch, who are at the high end, or they're them content creators. Like, you got to understand, there are new players playing almost every single day. I'm meeting people with only 900 hours, 800 hours. They've been playing for. I was watching a girl who's playing for 3 months, and y'all think everybody is just like part of Team Eternal and they all know how to do all the techs and stuff like that. No, they don't. They try. I think in a game like this, what happens is with content creators, they will show like what's possible with Survivor and Killer, and people want to win because I think people are just competitive that way. Maybe it's natural, I don't know, but people, it seems like they want to sweat more and they want to make it about looping instead of you just running from the killer and accepting that the killer role is the dominant power house, right? I mean, you look at the Bloodlust. I mean, people are steady acting as if Bloodlust is not like a carry. It is. It's a carry. Like in basketball, carry. It's a call, right? I think Killer is supposed to win. It's supposed to. It's called Dead by Daylight. It's 4 against 1. So they have to make it where the killer is the place. The kill rate to 60%. Like, even if it wasn't 60, these aren't talking about the high-end players that average a 3K or more in this game, the way things are. And I do apologize if it's kind of cutting out or anything like that. Hopefully it didn't. I don't think it cut out. Sometimes this computer acts a little weird. But anyway, listen, I just want to kind of read some stuff, and then we'll see. Okay, so I pretty much read the Servant Van Sickle. I wrote his post, and we're going to kind of get into some responses here. He was just talking about basically how has the behavior not seen it as an issue, as referring to like slugging and stuff like that, and people bleeding out. Because slugging is not the problem as much as just bleeding out. Because I've been bled out too many times playing this game. Alien Creative said, I just learned that my suspicions about the devs not playing solo queue Survivor were right. They do not play solo queue Survivor. That is why a lot of the issues related strictly to solo queue and go and fly under the radar. They do not care. They pretend it's okay to be slugged for 5 minutes. He meant to say 4, but it's not 5. He said, okay, in what world? Why? Why do we accept this? I know it's more rare, but the fact that it can happen to begin with is serving lazy. Yeah, and here's the thing too. Again, something's going on with this computer. I don't know why it's doing that. I really do not know. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it alone. I hope it's not cutting out too much. It keeps pausing a bit, and I just don't want it to keep. Anyway, the thing about about being slugged out is that my issue is that just get the game over with. Like, if you're in a tunnel and camp me, I can just go next on hook. In fact, the people that pisses me off is when I'm trying to go next and then the survivor gets me off the hook, knowing that like half of our team is pretty much death hook or dead, and then like we have no chance of winning. And then that survivor that's doing unhooking, maybe they have a challenge. They're not doing anything to begin with, but they're quick to run and get you off the hook. So this is the same survivor that'll be in the basement trying to camp for hatch damn near the entire start of the match. But then when you're ready to go next, that's that same survivor running up the stairs to come across the map, taking a bus or a bike or a scooter or a lift to come to your hook to unhook you. Like, this is literally like shot for shot, like no BS. And so my point is, what I'm saying is that like it's just the waiting. And then not only the waiting, but it's the humiliation. And it's like, I've heard they tried to do something with base kit, make it unbreakable, and then a lot of killers will hate that, but it's just like it's not healthy gameplay. I'm not asking, no one's asking for us to win the game and give us a better shot to win the game because we're slugged. It's, you're doing that when you know you could hook, you choose not to. And I guarantee if they ever made it where, okay, we can't be slugged for like 2 minutes, because explain to me why we couldn't be slugged for 2 minutes and get up. Like, explain to me if it's 2 minutes in the game, why can't I be slugged and then get up for 2 minutes? If you're going to, okay, we bleed out at 4 minutes, give me 2 minutes. You're probably thinking, no, that's too short. But see, here's the thing. I guarantee y'all wouldn't be slugging and bleed out as much anymore. That wouldn't be dry humping on the ground, because y'all would have to be like, okay, cool, I got to switch things up. See, they did something for camping. You know, they didn't really do much for tunneling, but they did something for camping, where they camp hook meter. They did something for that. So I'm thinking at some point maybe they'll be like, you know what, let's try to see what we can do with, you know, people being slugged to death and waiting and bleeding out. And I'd be damn, I'm not going to be late for work just because you want to be petty. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, so let me read New Eagles 196 response. He says, why should they care about solo queues when solo queues are bad? See, right there, I'm not even going to even. Right, I'm gonna read the rest of it. I'm gonna read the rest of it. Okay, because that really triggers me when people say stuff like this, as if like there's not a lot of people playing. And there are a lot of people who play. Okay, you got to realize, right? And I remember my guy Dev said this back in the day. He said it literally just takes 1 or 2 survivors to screw up the whole lobby in the game. Like, it takes 1 survivor really to throw. Like, if I'm in a lobby with me, let's say my boy Midas, shout out to Midas, let's say Nell Bob, and let's say Katana, 3 members of the channel, shout out to y'all. If we were in a lobby, right, just me, Midas, let's say I'm gonna say, let's say me, Midas, and let's say Katana or Nell Bob or whatever. Let's say just 3 of us, right? And then we got like a rando in our lobby. That rando can literally just like ruin the entire game. ruined the entire. Y'all gotta think, we didn't always have bots. So when that person left, now I always thought that if they didn't have bots, and I know this might sound weird to y'all, not trying to sidetrack it, but I always thought if they got rid of somebody, let's say somebody DC and they didn't have bots and that person just disappeared in the game, they should have got rid of like a generator, or they should have got rid of something. That way it's less for killers to have to patrol and try to stop it. Also less for us to have to do just to compensate. But it is what it is. They replace us with a bot, and the bot is not half bad. I mean, the bot is not perfect, but it's something. But when people just ignore solo queue struggles, I just think that's a problem. Yeah, solo queue is very, very bad. But it literally can just it can be one survivor that's not on our team. It can be two of us in the lobby and then two survivors. Like, if you don't have that communication, and even if you did, and here's another thing too before I read on like these other posts, even if you had communication, y'all still gotta understand everybody understands DBD and our juicers and our god survivors. Y'all do know that, right? Because we keep doing this thing where we want to ignore survivors' problems and say, oh, solo queue is bad, why would they worry about that? But it's like, so y'all have to understand, y'all keep thinking like this game is like a tourney every time. See, I know it's like the devs literally will nerf or buff things just to try to go off the possibility of like, hey, well, we don't want these survivors being too stronger than killer, and we don't want people doing this. So they will literally go inside and code where, base kit this works for killer, and then base kit this doesn't work for survivor the majority of the time. But even if they didn't do that, y'all do know that most survivors are just like casual. I can't count how many times I'm in a lobby with somebody named Daddy Ghostface, somebody's name Sexy Myers, Simp, whatever. I can't tell you how many times they just get giddy and excited because they can choose to do something with the killer and they can choose not to. And if the killer chooses to be nice, cool. If the killer chooses to not be nice or just be objective, cool too. But it's like y'all just act like everybody is just like a god-like survivors, and it's just justified these changes. Okay. Why should they care about solo queues when solo queues are bad? They should only care about good players because you create a balanced game by only looking at good players. If you look at actual good players, they hate tunneling, camping, and slugging, but they do these tactics because it's the best and only ways to win at high levels. You will never see good killers winning against good survivors with mixed hooks. These tactics were born because behavior looks only at bad players, and particularly bad survivors, forcing killers to be 10 times more efficient than opponents to win. Killer has always been hard to play, but right now it's stupidly hard and doesn't even feel rewarding. See, and this is the thing. This is like, I just think it's never going to change. I think it's never going to change in this mentality, because I also think people hear what they want to hear. It's like my guy. I ain't gonna say. I'll just say this. It's like somebody that I know that likes somebody who does not like them, and they do not like them. That's just one of my guys have a crush on somebody who does not like him back at all. There's no signs that has ever shown. And I try to tell them, like, hey, there are people out here, whether it's girls or guys, they will say things if they know they can get something out of you because you're very nice. Okay, they will say whatever they can to get something out of you because you are very nice. Don't go off what people tell you. Go off what they show you. The reason why, why did I bring up this, right? Why did I bring up this analogy? Because with him, you can't tell him nothing. He has to hear it from a certain person. It doesn't matter. He can't see the signs. He can't see it at all. But you can't tell him differently. It's the same thing with people in DBD. It doesn't matter what numbers and stats I show them. You cannot tell them different. There's constant narrative at the highest levels, and we should only worry about at the highest top level as if every survivor can just get there. Why do y'all do this thing, man? Like, that's why anytime I ever talk to people about this game, like on Twitter or whatever, I just destroy them. Like, it's not even close. See, I don't speak on things that I don't know about. If I don't know, I would tell you, hey, boy, I can't speak on that because I've never heard of that. I have to do more research and investigation. I don't speak on stuff I don't know. And I think a lot of times people, they only pay attention to what they see. Solo queue is definitely for people who are more casual. You got people who aren't so casual when they play with friends if they're trying to get at a high level. But even then, that takes levels, right? Because people have this misconception that just because you're in a Swift, you're supposed to automatically roll killer, as if killer is somehow not faster than you like they were already, as if killer is not stronger than you, as if they didn't buff killer to where, they made Bloodlust kick in faster. But yeah, we act like that's not a carry. Like, y'all do know that like there are survivors who still don't know what they're doing, even with Windows, even with all the metas, they still die with no problem in chase. You think having Windows helps a survivor know about check spots? Explain that to me in chase real fast. I mean, I know it's not part of the video, it's not part of the podcast episode, but I want people to explain to me, how does Windows help you with check spots? How does that work? How does Windows make you more patient as far as your chases, and not making the obvious predictable chucking down the pallet and fast vaulting on the other side and getting outplayed by the killer? Y'all do this thing again, and it's mostly killer players who do this, and you may have some survivors play that do this too, but it's like y'all only pay attention to what y'all pay attention to, and the devs are not doing that. The devs are doing that in the sense where they are trying to, which is stupid to me, that they are reworking killer based off the possibility that they can run against good survivors, and these survivors, because this is what I think that they're doing. I think what they're doing is they're saying, hey, we're just going to make it where we're just gonna make killer so like that Freddy that's gonna be released. I don't know when, maybe this week, or I don't know when he's gonna be released, but he's been in the PTB for a minute. And the way they made Freddy, I mean, I want y'all to I want y'all to understand the way they made Freddy, or if he comes out released the way he is, what I've seen on the PTB. I'm just trying to understand like how that, the majority, even at high MMR, I want people to understand this. At high MMR, they had numbers and stats a couple years ago that the best surviving team, like best Swift team, didn't skate more than 48% of the time. Explain to me at high levels, as the guy who, or girl who just, had this on Twitter, Reddit. Explain to me, how does that work? That at high levels, which is the highest MMR, that those survivors didn't escape more than half the time. They didn't even escape half the time. They escaped 2% below half the time. So I want to understand and know, how does that work? Let me guess. We're going to bring up comp, right? An arbitrary rule system, hooks, play style that's not recognized by the devs. The devs didn't say, oh no, you can only play certain killers on this map. Oh no, if you get these hook stages, you technically win. You need a certain amount of hook stages. No, it's simply, did you escape or did you die? It's simply that. It's simply put just like that. Okay, so that's the whole thing. But again, I realize in this community for almost 5 years, you cannot tell people anything. It's a headache. They hear what they want to hear. And it's people like that I know personally. No matter what I've said, hey man, she doesn't like you. Hey man, she seems like she's just using you because she know you'll look out for her. She know you'll mess with her. She know that you'll make her food and salads. And hey, if she can get that for free without giving up anything, well, who wouldn't like that, right? Morally, she should say, hey, morally, hey, I don't like you like that. I don't want you to get any bad ideas or any weird ideas thinking that we have a chance or whatever. Say it the most polite way you can say it. But unfortunately, you have people who just don't have that moral compass, right? So, he has to learn and do what he has to do. I had to learn in DBD to look up information and stats and stuff that makes sense or not. So I have to look that up to myself and say, okay, this is what I got to do, because I believe in understanding numbers and facts. See, facts are stubborn. Feelings aren't. Feelings aren't stubborn. Feelings are all sporadic and all over the place. Like, feelings are sporadic, like lightweight, the perk. It's not consistent. But facts are. And when you start to understand that most people don't operate in reality, they operate off their feelings. That's why it's always these ad hominem attacks. That's why in this community, all they want to do is bleed you out because they're so angry and they want to prove a point. Oh, because it's funny, but they being petty. And then like you got survivors that was sandbag on purpose, right? It's all feelings based. It's cool to have feelings. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you are human. It's just that you have to understand. I tell people I don't apologize how I feel, but I am careful with how I react. Okay, slugging. I'm reading Cabot Eclipse. Slugging perks aren't even necessary. It still sucks ass to be sat on the floor, another survivor hooked next to you, and a killer nodding between the two of you. Yep, exactly. That's all they do. Nodding or dry humping you on the ground. Libra Vision. Okay, I like the name. It says, I had a Legion last night with this build. Extremely miserable. Behavior needs to make it base kid. I mean, he said base game. Base game that if you've been knocked down and left for more than 15 seconds multiple times, you get unbreakable after about the 5th time, or a similar mechanic. Luckily, I run Boons, Shadow Step, Circle of Healing, and Exponential, so my team was able to crawl to the boom. And see, here's the thing, too. I want to kind of pause it there. Hold on. Okay. I want to kind of pause it there. Because one of the killer's arguments would be, well, there's Unbreakable, Boons, stuff like that, right? And Boons can work unlimitedly until the killer, finds the totem. But y'all gotta realize how limited that is, because Unbreakable works once. So maybe y'all can rework Unbreakable, make it where if you are on the ground for more than it should work like Shadow Bone. And I think Unbreakable would be damn near meta at some point, or a killer just won't slug as much. I think they need to make it where it doesn't work just once. Now I know you're thinking no, that would be OP. Well, no, killers, y'all stop slugging. Make Unbreakable where you can get up multiple times. Maybe it takes longer. Maybe it takes. Hell, it'll at least take up a perk slot. Y'all gotta understand, forcing a killer, it's like bringing flashlights to a lobby, right? Now, if you only choose on both sides, killer and survivor role, for perks, right? And I just think, if you can actually force a killer to, use up a perk slot. So if I'm in a lobby with 3 of my guys, we all got flash, 4 of us, maybe killer might bring Franklin's. Maybe killer might bring Lightborn, right? Makes it where we ain't got to worry about it's one less gen slowdown perk. It's one less aura reading perk. It's just one less. Sure, they still got 3 more, but it's one less. And I think that's what they'll do with Survivor. It'll be one less meta perk. Maybe we won't have Windows on. Maybe we won't have Adrenaline. Maybe we won't have OTR. I think that if you make Unbreakable like that, you will see less. So let's say you'd be like, okay, you know what? Well, we still need slugging to be on the ground. We still need to. I just think that I'm not saying it needs to happen fast. I'm not saying it needs to. Maybe you have to do a totem and you can get up. You know how inner strength is or something like that. But you could do a totem and you can heal when you get in the locker. It has to be something. Is the point? It have to be something. As is what I'm thinking, because to make it where we have to be on the ground for 4 minutes and solo queue is already like a nightmare. Because there's no way. Again, you have a better shot of not being slugged out too long if you're in a team in the Swift. But again, they don't think about solo queue players. They don't care. It's obvious that they don't care about it. It is what it is. So I just think that if you do that, it can help. You have to do something. You have to do something. I don't know. Maybe you stop buying. See, I think me and Midas talk about this all the time. People stop supporting this game with the skins and all this stuff. It'd be really hard for them to not listen. It'd be really hard. The thing that made 6.1.0 patch happen is when killers were being matched up to the actual MMRs. That mean killers who are really good wasn't going on those win streaks of 100. Not saying every killer was doing that, but just understand that the killers that do that, they're not playing specifically against the people that are actually on their level. They're really not. Because I mean, just to one of the people point that said, hey, if you're going against really good teams as a killer, you're not going to win every single match. Sure, but you have to understand that MMR isn't like that a thing in this game anymore. So they're just going on these rampage kill rates, kill streaks, and stuff like that. Not saying every killer man is doing that, but just understand that those are like the really top level killers that can do that, but they still not really going against on a consistent basis every single match people of their MMR or hours or skill. They're really just not. But I do think that they should do that. And my point about me talking about the whole unbreakable thing is that unbreakable right now is limited. You can use it one time. So once a killer know you can get up, they can knock you back down, especially if they're camping your body. Okay, boom, they knock you back down. So what can you do about it? You feel me? So, Haunted Archive said, it's boring, but I just go and play killer instead. I have never slugged or bled anyone unless they are running a Sabo build and never have an issue with hooking. In my opinion, there's no reason to not hook someone. Exactly. Let me see. It says, you say, okay, so this is Slaughter. That the meta argument is that you save yourself time from not picking up and hooking. It isn't about points, it's about kills. Okay, that's an interesting point. And then kindly Thack Off says, but do you really save your time if you literally leave every single survivor to bleed out on the floor 4 minutes while doing nothing? Nah, you probably save yourself time if you are by hooking them. Go epidemic, just saying. Okay, and as a good point in, Archive says there are plenty of hooks perks, plenty of hook perks to give you incentive to hook, and it's why this argument only coming about now. Hard slugging is boring and unnecessary. Yeah, the people that slug like that though, a lot of times they are like dry humping you on the ground and they're BMing you. Like, that's simply what that is. Like, people think like, it's always about trying to slug and get back in the favor of the killer. Like, killers who may, again, it's boring to be slugged out, but if I'm not slugged out that long and the killer like, okay, if y'all don't play killer, if y'all never played killer, y'all don't understand that sometimes killers won't be able to see you. Like, if you have tenacity, or you just like, I don't know, scurried away somewhere while they went to go try to like find somebody, and you're like crawling to like another area or whatever, that's kind of different. It's kind of different. My thing is that hold on, it paused for a bit. Okay, am I back on? Or God, this computer is an old dog. It is an old dog. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm good. If it cuts out, just bear with me. Like, I might miss some parts. Sometimes it does that. Like, this computer will freeze. It will like do some stuff. So sometimes I might have to just bear with me a bit. But my point is that if you don't play killer to understand and know, like, sometimes the killer will lose you because they're trying to like, let's say a killer is not trying to be a dick. And they're like, okay, let me try to get this game back in my favor. So I'm not going to leave you slug for too long. I'm just trying to slug and trying to get whatever. I don't have knockout. I don't have third seal and all that stuff. I'm just trying to slow down the game, which means eventually I'm going to be hooking. I'm okay with slugging, not bleeding out. But if you crawl to like the edge of the map or you crawl away, the killer has to try to locate you by your blood stains and grunts and pains, and just try to remember where you were when they slugged you. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind, that it's not always like, sometimes they just can't find you, but there are killers. You can go look at that clown video of him stepping on my Nia when she's trying to get hacked. You'll see that. Like, I promise you, he literally did me the worst. Pause. And I'm serious. Okay. And again, yeah, I'm just going to repeat it because sometimes this thing is doing this. He did everything. The killer clown did everything he could to be a dick. He literally, I was in RPD. Check out that video. It was me being on the ground. He bled out other survivors who did nothing wrong to him. He bled out other survivors just to prove a point. And then he was throwing snowballs from his belly. They don't have the animation that you can throw snowballs, which they should add. But he was just chucking it from his stomach, and then he was dry humping me on the ground. He made it seem like I was going to get a hatch. He brought me over to the hatch. Mind you, he already bled out everybody else at this point. Like, he already bled out everybody else. Like this, no, I think what he did is he ended up killing two people. But the person he did that, like when he started to like BM me, the person was just like bleeding out on the ground for like 10 minutes. Like so long that person could have been in the next match, died, and still I'd been on the ground bleeding out. And so what I ended up doing was he ended up bringing me, like, we was in like RPD. I was in RPD. He ended up bleeding me out and putting me in like the hatch was in like the office room, like in the newspaper room or the media room, that main room that's in RPD. And he was throwing bottles of gases, made it seem like he was going to give me the hatch. He didn't. He ended up closing it. He ended up taking me to the door. He ended up, throwing the gases and stuff. Like, here, open the door. Then he ended up smacking me with NOED. I'm on the ground, right? And then he ended up bringing me, like, no, he didn't even open the gate. He just smacked me, and then he just moored me, and he did all of that. So I know that took a while for me to like get it out, but the point what I'm saying is that this is the issue that I have, is that you have people that's spoiling it for the whole bunch. They're spoiling it. They're spoiling. So I do believe that devs are aware of this. They are aware that, hey, and they've tried to do something about it, but it just seemed like that they couldn't do something where it made sense for them. Some way they're still trying to work on it, I assume. Y'all hate it. We hate it. So I just think that people have to look at that and say to themselves, okay, hopefully there is a change. Hopefully we see it. I'm not against it as far as like slugging for like trying to get, like, slugging for the 4K to me is just like overkill too. You already killed 3 survivors. You don't lose. You don't depip. You don't even have to tie. You already won the game by getting 3 people out. But you slugged the last person, the second to the last person, just to come after me. And then no one, see, the thing is likely when you're playing in solo queue, you already know what that last survivor is doing. They're hiding. And they don't have to worry about you cursing them out because they can't hear you. But they know that you're not saying good things about them. Okay, let me read New Eagles 106. Survivors meta is using perks that reward them for getting hooked. And if the killer doesn't tunnel, they use them aggressively to body block teammates and waste killer's time. Yeah, I mean, are survivors not supposed to try to help their teammates out? Survivors are doing what they... If you're going to bitch about being tunneled after using off the record against the killer after you got off the hook to try to body block, I mean, even if the killer wants to go after you, wants to go after the person that's been unhooked, fine. But it's like, I mean, like, I'm not against you for doing that, by the way. Just want to be clear. But you got to understand from the killer's perspective, like, hey, you know, they got to get something out of it. Or it could piss them off. It said it's so fun having to slug a survivor with DS and Unbreakable, knowing that the survivor is literally immortal for like a minute. Try to play killer at high levels, then watch the BS it has become. You are not high levels if you can hook easily. Again, I don't knock that there are survivors and killers that are at that level. I know of them. I've seen them myself. I just think the issue when people use this argument in this community about killers being at high levels, that y'all only focus on those levels. This game cannot be balanced based off what's just possible. You will never get me to agree with that. You will never get me to understand and agree with that. Most people are not at that level. I'm not saying you should make it easy, but when y'all say it, but y'all made it easier for killer, dude. Y'all literally made it. See, there's no... See, the thing that makes it very interesting is that they can never point to a single stat and number in the 4 years and a half I've been playing this game. They can never point to a stat that shows that killers on the majority of killers, or at least half the time, are losing to survivors at any level. You cannot show me, like, just show me some stat. See, this is what makes it harder, right? Pause. Because it's just like people just go off their feelings, and it's like stats mean something. Like, okay, at least disprove what I'm saying. If I go off and say, okay, I use this in just like in like dating, debates and stuff like that, and like just talking about the world between men and women, and like I use a lot of data that's backed up by actual data and research. I'm one of those guys that's like, actually, I'm one of them where I go off data and research. I just want you to bring up something that's disproving my point. Can we please do this? Can you bring up something that said point? That's all I want somebody to do. Bring up a point. So if I say Windows Opportunity is not the most used perk in the game because I don't see it a lot of times, right? I don't use it because people love using themselves as anecdotal experiences. They love doing it. I don't know why they do it, but they love doing that. You know what they'll do? If I say Windows Opportunity is not the most used perk in the game, you know what they'll do? They'll literally go to the website that they love to try to argue against when I'm trying to make my point. I'm going to tell you what Killer will say. They'll say, nope, Windows Opportunity is the most used perk in the game. Look at the stats right here. But so they would use that as an argument. But if I counter that argument and say, well, hey, well, guess what? Did you know that most killers are averaging at least like in total 55%? Like most of y'all aren't losing our games. And I would use the exact same website that validated your argument. Yeah, you would use that and try to say, oh, no, that's not true. Because that's not what you see or you believe. You see how I did that? I just want people to understand, like, just bring up a number and stat that shows me the majority of the killers aren't at least killing two survivors or better. Show me stats where killers are on average getting 3 men outed. And no one has ever, and I mean ever, show me any stats. They have never even argued against it. I just want somebody to show it to me one time. And then let's do the research and actually see if it's legit, not somebody who's just making it up to prove a point. Does that make sense? So my point is, what I'm saying is that, this argument will forever be a thing, and I think that it's being missed on purpose because people just want to prove. Again, y'all gotta understand, people just want to prove a point. People are very petty. Yet they still play this game. I still play this game. I don't see this game not being a game that I don't want to play. I just find it very intriguing that we just don't seem to like understand how things actually work. I think I'll pretty much end soon because my head's kind of not hurting, but I'm kind of like dizzy a bit. And I don't want to just ramble. I think my biggest thing is, I'll just say this to close. I think slugging needs to be addressed too when it comes to slugging and bleeding out. Slugging for the 4K is very annoying, but it's annoying in a sense. They're never going to get rid of the idea you can slug. They're never going to get rid of like the idea. I think you should just limit the timing. I think it should be the timing that be a thing, because with slugging, again, it's just like if people can do what they want. And killers don't really have a lot of like repercussions to them, or they would stop doing it. Like they feel like, okay, oh man, I'm gonna get banned for doing this. I'm gonna get banned. Like even if you get off hook with the hook meter camp, they're still gonna like. There's nothing that can stop a killer from chasing you. And y'all trying to body block and help your teammate. All y'all doing is helping the killer win the game. That's why that's what I say, like being too overly altruistic kills the game, because people don't understand, like, hey, you're just doing too much. Again, I understand you want to help your teammate out, but that's what I'm saying is, y'all have to get to a point in this game where it's just like y'all have to do research and start asking questions. Stop always asking about skins when these live Q&As. Hey, when are we gonna address the slugging thing? When are we gonna address the give up culture in DBD? Or we just quit the game because we just feel like it because it's not going our way. See, killers don't like that. But it's so fun to just get slugged and bleed out, and you already have a teammate that y'all can't see or know that they're not doing anything. When you're a killer, you don't see that the survivor's not doing anything. You might not have seen them. You might not have heard them. You might not have seen them in a while. And that's why they hated, distortion. Part of it was because of that. I believe is because, hey, they're hiding and we want to keep chasing the same person. But I also like to believe and think that they also just didn't like it, being like limited based off like, their aura reading, because killers' aura reading is meta. It's just what it is. So I don't know. I think that they should address it and at least try to find a way. I would say they probably are trying to find a way. It's probably just not easy. You guys aren't developers. Most of y'all aren't. Maybe some of y'all are and all this stuff. I quote unquote love when people just say it's not that hard. I should be able to do this. I love when y'all say that until y'all in these people's shoes. It's amazing how we just like to talk and never have any backing or information or facts. We just love to talk and never have to be corrected. We don't care to be corrected because we just want to talk loud. Like I said, you don't watch my content if you think I'm just an entitled survivor man. And watching like 3 minutes when the video is like maybe 10, it's not going to get you there. If you don't stick around and listen to these things, you're not going to understand. I have the most balanced takes. I try to get people to simply understand. The majority of survivors are just average players. They're not at that level where they can adapt to. Because when you get to a certain level, it's still very frustrating to go against the night players, to go against Houndmaster, to go against Xenomorphs, to go against the rework Singularity. But at a certain level, survivor with a certain amount of hours, you can carry yourself more times than not better than most survivors can in Chase. But you still can't carry a team. You cannot. That's why it's always fun to watch those escape streaks. Because I watch them just for like the rage. I don't watch them because I think, I can learn something from it. No, I watch it for the rage. I think it's funny. Because I know for a fact they're tripping. So, other than that, no, I think I'm pretty much good here. I'm a little tired. But y'all let me know what you guys think. Do you think that they will ever do anything about slugging? Honestly, I just don't think they will. I think they should. I think they were trying to do something. Maybe they still got it in the works. They got to do something. I think that they should make it where, you have unlimited breakable, but there's like real, like long, like, how they nerfed, healing, how long it takes. Like they didn't take away our ability to self-care. It's just, we have to, it takes forever. Or you have to pair it with something. They got to have something in just the bones, because the bones can always get snuffed out, right? It's RNG. You're not going to always be by a bone. Like, keep that in mind, y'all. Like, if you got a bone, but then you get slugged way on the other side of the map, unless you got tenacity, which you probably could use, probably not a bad build, which means you pretty much have to give up so much just to even run that, to crawl to the bone. So I just think I just think that you should just do whatever you can to just not get slugged. Because slugging to wait 4 minutes is crazy work. But that is just like what I think. I don't think they're going to do too much anything right away. But if they do, it would be interesting to see what they actually have in store. So, but hey, I appreciate you guys listening. Follow me on the socials. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff here. If you guys are comfortable watching or listening here, please do it. Y'all let me know your thoughts down below. How y'all think y'all should rework Unbreakable. Should get rid of slugging. How many times have you been slugged in a match? Tell me your frustration thoughts. If you are a killer man, survivor man, who cares? Just be respectful to each other in the comments. You guys are mostly are, so I never have to say anything, but people get very serious in this community, and they're just and I love reading passionate comments, because it shows that they care. But y'all gotta respect each other. At least do that here, man. Not saying again, I'm not saying that y'all aren't, but just try to do that here. We can all exist in this game and be different. Killers have their ways and their sides, and then so do we have our stuff and how we see things and stuff like that. So, but no, nothing else. Hope you guys have a blessed night. Blessed morning. If you guys are a member, you guys can get it tonight. I'm just working on more content. Please like the short and the latest video of my epic fails in DBD. I'm gonna try to keep that series going. If people are liking those, likes goes a long way. It goes a long way, so it helps me out an F ton. So just keep that in mind. But if nothing else, have a blessed day. Stay safe out here. And as usual, peace.